her face shifting through emotions faster than the waves on the Bosphorus. She's perfecting not just an act, but a weapon. She's sculpting her body into a narrative so powerful it will crack the marble foundations of Byzantine politics, and you realize what looks like play is really training. What looks like sin is really strategy. If you lean closer, you'll catch her humming, a tune borrowed from a tavern. Singer, a melody that sticks in your ear like honey on fingers. Her laugh rolls out, soft but edged. And though she hasn't yet stepped into the palace, you can feel it in your bones. The most horrifying practices of pleasure and performance are fusing into armor, wrapping her in silken chains that will one day bind an empire. The torches sputter, the crowd roars again, and she steps onto the stage, ready to turn vice into destiny. The palace doors groan open, and you step with her into marble halls that gleam under candlelight, the scent of roses mingling with a musk far less innocent. She's no longer the tavern performer. She's clad in imperial silks, every thread dyed with power, every jewel catching torchlight like a watchful eye. The girl who once twirled before jeering mobs now walks beside Justinian, the man who will be emperor, her laughter echoing as if it owns the walls themselves. And the courtiers can't decide what horrifies them more, her past, which clings like smoke, or her present, which blazes brighter than any throne room brazier. Imagine their whispers. She's a courtesan, a pantomime dancer, a spectacle too filthy to crown. Yet here she is, crowned anyway, her smile sharper than any sword. You feel the tension like static in the air, as if one wrong word might spark a riot. She deploys her old arsenal, timing, wit, scandal, but now it's turned on senators, generals, bishops, where once she joked about a man's wife, now she jokes about imperial policy, and somehow it lands. When Justinian dithers over a law, she snaps, "Better to rule than to weep." That phrase slipped into debates, later echoes through history as her defining mark. Historians still argue whether she truly said it or whether chroniclers polished it into legend, but the effect is the same. It cements her as steel wrapped in silk. Behind the curtains of the palace, Byzantine sexual rituals remain as strange as any tavern pantomime. You hear of silken ropes braided for both devotion and discipline, of lavish banquets where entertainment blurs into seduction, of priests wagging fingers by day while indulging in masked revels by night. She doesn't invent these customs, she masters them. She wields them not as vices, but as weapons of loyalty. A general once opposed her husband. A season later, after attending one of her orchestrated banquets, he swears lifelong allegiance. Coincidence? You can almost taste the smirk curling at her lips. A mainstream historical fact anchors all this spectacle. During Justinian's reign, the empire codified Roman law in what we call the Corpus Juris Civilis. It's the backbone of European legal tradition. And while dusty scholars wrote the text, she shaped the mood in which laws were applied. Without her, Justinian might have caved to riots. With her, he stood firm. The famous Nika Revolt, when mobs roared through Constantinople, burning half the city, nearly toppled him. He considered fleeing. She didn't. She told him death in purple is better than life in flight. And in that moment, she wasn't just an empress. She was the empire's spine. Quirky detail? Some chroniclers claim she had prophetic dreams, warning of floods or plagues. One tale says she once awoke and demanded that the palace be scrubbed with vinegar to ward off demons. Silly superstition? Maybe. But remember, this is a city where people believed icons could weep blood, and where crocodile dung cosmetics didn't sound too bizarre. If vinegar dreams steadied her, then vinegar dreams worked. Her enemies paint her as monstrous. They say she manipulated Justinian with carnal tricks. whispering honeyed words into midnight while draped in nothing but pearls. They accuse her of punishing rivals by turning their own desires against them, exposing hypocrisies until reputations cracked like thin glass. Some rumors are clearly smear campaigns. Others, you suspect, hide kernels of truth. After all, she had climbed from pantomime to palace, so why stop using the tools that worked? But she isn't only decadence. You walk with her into chapels where she sponsors charities, lifting former prostitutes into safety, protecting women battered by husbands. This is the paradox. The empress shaped by scandal becomes the protector of those trapped in it. The same practices that horrify her critics taught her the empathy to legislate mercy. To the poor, she is a saint. To the elite, she's a nightmare. And that's the thing. History remembers her as both. Her world is slippery, like olive oil poured over marble. Step wrong and you fall. But she doesn't fall. She balances, dances, even twirls. Every gesture rehearsed since those smoky tavern nights. You picture her at the end of a long banquet, reclining against silk cushions, goblet in hand. Justinian dozes beside her, worn from law codes and riots. She gazes out across Constantinople, the domes of Hagia Sophia gleaming in the moonlight, her crowning gift to the city, and you sense her satisfaction, not just with jewels or feasts, but with survival. She turned horror into strategy, whispers into law, scandal into sovereignty. As the candles gutter low, you feel her presence soften. No more thunderous speeches, no more sly jokes, just the quiet breath of a woman who clawed her way from tavern floors to marble thrones. She closes her eyes, and the empire holds its breath. Thank you for listening. I'll stop here, where the silks fall still, where the torches fade to embers, and where her legend slips back into shadow. This is where I fade out. We're always saying goodbye. The air is thick with incense and sweat, drifting from the hippodrome where shouting crowds stomp their sandals into dust, their cheers echoing off the marble like waves in the cavern. You're there, shoulder to shoulder, with bakers and beggars, watching not only the chariot races but the sideshows, the ones whispered about after dark, where performers push bodies into daring pantomimes that are a little too vivid, a little too scandalous. And right there, under the flicker of torchlight, is the girl who will grow into history's most dangerous empress. Like what you're seeing? Hit like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. I'm always reading them. She's young, but her eyes already carry that impossible confidence. The kind that says she'll one day sip wine in a palace while armies march at her command. But before that, she grinds through nights in tawdry taverns where laughter mixes with moans, and performances blur the line between art and indecency. You can smell the sour wine, hear the slap of sandals on mosaics sticky with spilled honey. It's not glamour, it's survival, and her survival strategy is charm-honed, razor-sharp. Imagine pantomime plays where actresses shed clothes piece by piece, dramatizing myths of gods chasing maidens or heroes falling to temptation. This future empress doesn't just play the role, she owns it. She takes on Zeus, Hera, Aphrodite all in one body, and the crowd howls, tossing coins that clatter like rain. One fringe rumor says she even trained animals to act out suggestive tricks. Alongside her, a goose, if you believe the spicier chronicles. Historians still argue whether that tale was malicious slander or scandalous truth. But either way, it stuck like gossip glue. And gossip, in Constantinople, is worth more than gold. Every whisper in the bathhouses, every muttered aside in the spice markets builds her legend. You can feel the marble walls practically leaning in, eager to listen. Even courtiers from the palace sneak out to watch, cloaked in anonymity, because everyone loves forbidden fruit, especially the kind dipped in honeyed sweat and forbidden chants. Mainstream historians agree on this. In the 6th century, the Byzantine Empire wasn't just about theology and law codes. It was a city of appetite. Spectacle ruled as firmly as scripture. Emperors trembled before circus factions like the Blues and Greens, who weren't just sports fans, but political mobs with fists and knives. Into this world she steps, a woman who understands that bodies on stage could move hearts off stage, and moving hearts could topple thrones. So she learns to weave herself into stories. She's the tragic lover dying for beauty, the maiden tricked by gods, the queen betrayed by lust, and behind every role she sharpens her real skill. Timing, a glance held too long, a laugh thrown at the right moment, a mock tear sliding exactly when the audience craves it. You can almost taste the tension, like cinnamon on wine, sweet until it burns. Picture her slipping out of the theater and into smoky feasts afterward. There, elite men recline on couches, plucking figs while musicians strum lutes. They invite her half out of lust, half out of curiosity. She entertains them not only with her body, but with razor-tongued jokes, so quick you'd miss them if you blinked. A senator thinks he commands legions, she might quip, but he can't even command his own wife. The room erupts, because nothing is more intoxicating than danger disguised as comedy. One quirky tidbit buried in later accounts claims she experimented with bizarre beauty tricks, rubbing crocodile dung mixed with honey onto her skin as a sort of sunscreen or perfume. Whether true or another smear campaign, the image is unforgettable. You, standing nearby, wrinkling your nose, while she insists it gives her an irresistible glow. And strangely, the laughter that follows becomes part of her power. The city itself hums around her. Lanterns float on the Bosphorus. Sailors mutter prayers against mermaids. And meanwhile, in shadowy corners, this girl practices the art of survival. She learns to measure men's greed like bakers weigh flour. She learns to let insults roll off her as if she's oiled in olive slick. And most of all, she learns to never waste an opportunity, whether it's a drop coin, a wandering gaze, or a secret overheard. Soon enough, her reputation spreads beyond theaters and taverns. Merchants gossip about her wit while weighing silk. Priests thunder sermons warning against her influence, which, of course, only makes her more alluring. You can almost hear the whispers floating like incense smoke toward the palace walls. One day, she'll catch the eye of a prince. Not just any prince, but the one destined to be emperor. And when that happens, the same tricks that once earned her bread will earn her a crown. For now, though, you watch her rehearse behind a curtain, her gestures sharp,